Okay, so let me ask you something. What if you had this deep, unshakable faith, right? But your mind, it's still just a total battlefield of doubt and desire. Well, we're about to dive into a spiritual Q&A from almost 200 years ago that tackles this exact problem head-on. It's really a masterclass in devotion, and it gives us a timeless guide to spiritual progress.
All right, I want you to picture this. Let's travel back in time. It's a cool December day at Vadtal, India. We're on the banks of a lake, sitting under a mango tree, and a spiritual master, Sriji Maharaj, is there, dressed all in white with garlands of roses. And gathered all around him is this assembly of monks and devotees, just ready for a discussion.
And get this is how he kicks things off. Not with some long lecture, but with an invitation. He's actually encouraging his followers to challenge him, to really dig deep and ask the tough questions. This sets the stage for a really dynamic and, interactive discourse.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to follow the 4 big questions that were asked that day. First, we'll explore this paradox of faith. Then, we'll try to define what true spiritual refuge actually looks like. After that, we'll get into the different levels of devotion. And finally, we'll uncover a method for speeding up your spiritual growth.
Which brings us right to our first big, thorny question. If our entire reality is a kind of divine illusion, this concept called Māyā, then how on earth can anyone ever hope to truly see beyond it?
So the first question comes from a disciple named Muktanand Swami, and this just gets right to the absolute heart of the spiritual struggle, doesn't it? He's basically asking, look, I have faith, I worship God, but my mind is still a chaotic mess of thoughts and desires. Isn't this Māyā still controlling me? How have I transcended anything? It's just an incredibly honest and frankly super relatable problem.
Okay, so to really get the answer here, we have to talk about Māyā. Now, this isn't just some simple magic trick. The source explains Māyā as the very fabric of our material reality, and it's woven from 3 fundamental qualities, or gunas. You can think of them as cosmic building blocks. Our bodies, our senses, even our thoughts, they're all products of this Māyā.
And this is where we get this really crucial shift in perspective. The goal isn't to somehow destroy your mind and body. That's impossible. No, the real breakthrough comes from changing your conviction. It's about realizing that God's true form exists completely beyond Māyā. And by holding on to that belief with everything you've got, you also begin to transcend it, even while you're still living in a body and mind made from it.
That leads perfectly into our next section. If the whole key is this unwavering conviction, then how do you know if you actually have it? How can we tell how strong our own spiritual refuge really is? So another disciple, Vachanamrut Swami, he asks for the practical signs. He's basically asking, okay, so what does it actually look like when someone is completely surrendered to God? What are the things you can actually see?
So Sriji Maharaj, he frames his answer with this incredibly powerful verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which is a foundational Hindu scripture. And it's pretty much the ultimate instruction on surrender. Give up everything else, all other supports, and just come to me. This really sets the standard for what true refuge means. It's got to be total, and it's got to be exclusive.
And the answer breaks down into these 3, let's call them pillars, of what true refuge is. It means you see God as your only protector from misery and your only source of happiness. And ultimately, it means that your actions, what you do every day, are guided only by God's will. It's a complete rewiring of your life's foundation. All right, so if that's the ideal, the gold standard, why do people's experiences seem so different? Our third section really gets into the reality that, not everyone's faith is on the same level.
So then another devotee, Naja Bhakta, comes along and asks this super practical question. He's noticing that people can talk a good game, right? They can sound like they have incredible faith. But how do you tell the difference between someone whose faith is just on the surface and someone who has that deep, genuine refuge?
And the answer is, it's surprisingly down to earth. The real test of faith isn't found when you're meditating alone in silence. It's found in community. Sriji Maharaj explains that when pressure builds within the group, when there are arguments or challenges, the person with weak faith gets agitated and leaves. They run off to be alone. But the person with strong faith, they endure. They tolerate the friction and they stay to work things out for the good of the whole group.
So what this does is it reveals this really clear spectrum of devotion. And the key indicator of where you are on that spectrum, from the lowest level to the highest, is your resilience within a community.
And all of this, it's building up to the final, and I think the most powerful question of the day. Is your level of devotion just fixed? Or is there a way to, jump the line? Can you actually speed up your own spiritual growth?
So, Nityanand Swami asks this ultimate question of hope. Can someone who is starting at the absolute bottom with the weakest faith imaginable reach the very pinnacle of devotion? Not in some future life, but right here, right now, in this lifetime.
And the answer is a resounding yes. And the method? Well, the method is called similar service. The whole idea is to serve God's ideal devotee, a true saint or a bhakta, with the exact same reverence you would serve God himself. So if you do mental worship or Mansi Puja for God, you do the same for the saint. If you prepare a food offering, a thal for God, you also prepare one for the saint.
And get this, the result of this practice is painted as nothing short of astonishing. By doing this similar service with real, genuine affection, a devotee who might have been destined to take 100 lifetimes to reach that highest state can achieve it in this one. It's presented as this spiritual accelerator of just incredible power, basically compressing a century of progress into a single life.
So, that leaves us with a final thought, something to really chew on. This principle of similar service isn't just about ancient spirituality. I mean, think about any area of your own life where you want to grow. Your career, learning a skill, even your character. Where could you apply this idea? Who is the ideal person you could serve with that same reverence as the goal itself? And how might that just accelerate your own path to mastery?